Hi guys, DIY Mark, and this time I'm doing an introductory review of the new 2018 Dualtron 3 electric scooter from Minimotors. For those of you that are not too familiar with scooters like the Dualtron, let me try to give it some context. You've probably noticed the emergence of the casual rental scooter market that is popping up in many urban cities. The analogy I would make is those scooters are like an average four-door sedan, and the Dualtron is like a production race car. The Dualtron and a small class of high-performance scooters like it are faster, have greater ranges, and a significantly more robust chassis. Minimotors makes several versions of this scooter, and the Dualtron is the middle of their line. So I've had the Dualtron 3 for only a few weeks now, but long enough for me to draw some conclusions about what works well. And so that's why I'm calling this an introductory review. One of the reasons I decided to take the plunge into purchasing the Dualtron was based on some of the experiences from my neighbor, Gary, who had already purchased a high-performance scooter from Luna called the Apocalypse. Gary let me borrow his scooter for an extended period of time, which was a catalyst for my purchase. It also gave me another high-performance scooter to compare the Dualtron to. I'm not a big fan of unboxing videos, but let's start there. The Dualtron came in a large box from UPS and it arrived in good condition after just a few days from ordering it from Minimotors USA in San Francisco. There really was not much to the setup. It comes assembled, and the only thing that is required to assemble is the handlebar retention hook, which is used for folding and stowing the scooter. The Dualtron 3 has electric motors in both the front and rear wheel, for a total of 3,600 watts of power. Speed-wise, I don't feel like I've tested the top speed yet, but I was able to reach 38 miles an hour without too much difficulty. On the handlebars, you have two sets of buttons that controls the motor speed. You can select to engage just the rear motor, or both the front and the rear motors together, or activate what they call turbo mode, which really unleashes the power. There are dual disc brakes, and they are set up like a motorcycle with the front brake on the right and the rear brake on the left. They are cable-actuated hydraulic calipers, and they work effectively. In addition, you have the ability to select regeneration braking through the onboard computer, which significantly adds to the braking ability, as well as recharging the battery. In fact, it takes a bit of getting used to, since as soon as you touch the brake lever, the regen brake engages and it brakes fairly hard. There really is a limited amount of gradient to the braking with regen turned on. This is one area that could use some refinement. The brakes also have an ABS feature that can be turned on or off, but I haven't had enough time to provide good feedback on that feature yet. The steering column has a quick release at the bottom of the stem to facilitate folding down the column, and it turns into a handle for lifting the scooter into a car or for storage. This scooter is not a lightweight, and it comes in at over 75 pounds, so it's a bit of a challenge to lift it into the car, and definitely not something you'd want to carry up a flight of stairs by yourself. Up front on the handlebars is the system control display. This is where you set up the computer, as well as provides you the system info, such as how much battery life is left, your current speed, distance traveled, etc. It's fairly well laid out and intuitive. The heart of any electric vehicle is the battery system, and the Dualtron 3 has a 60-volt system from LG Electronics. Part of the reason I chose the Dualtron 3 is that I'm told the LG batteries are superior over most of the Chinese batteries in many of the scooters right now. The scooter comes with a single trickle charger brick, and I ended up purchasing a second charger, which cuts the charge time in half. The scooter has two charger ports, and both can be plugged in at the same time. The wheels are 10 inches in diameter and have tubeless tires. I've been running them at 40 psi as recommended by Minimotors, and that provides a nice ride. The motors are located inside the hub of the wheel, so there are no chains or belts. This is really a nice design, as the scooter is nearly silent. About the only sound you hear is the wheels on the pavement. The Dualtron 3 scooter also comes with a fancy pants ambient lighting system and a remote that lets you tune in the color and fade to your liking. While this may be a cool feature for some, it didn't appeal to me and I chose to shut it off. So let's talk about performance. The first thing you'll notice is the Dualtron pulls hard right from the start. The power curve is like most electric vehicles, accelerating fast and hard and then flattens out. Exactly the opposite of what I remember my old YZ Yamaha having years ago. It's different at first, and it takes some time to get the feel for it, but you quickly adapt to it. One thing for sure is this Dualtron 3 has power. It handled every hill I threw at it without hesitation. I tested on a local hill that climbs for 1.5 miles and gains nearly 700 feet of elevation. It easily maintained 20 plus miles per hour and could accelerate even more, but I just didn't have the gumption to do so. Bottom line, it has the power to go faster than you like at any time. Range-wise, the longest ride I've done so far is 22 miles, and it showed 75% of the battery remaining, and I weigh 145 pounds. And that ride included lots of hills and speed. Minimotors claims a 75-mile range under ideal conditions. I don't expect to get that far with the hilly terrain in my area, but 40 plus miles seems very plausible. Handling is pretty good. It has a tight turning radius and feels very agile. After just a few minutes, I was carving the corners. All the weight of the scooter is in the deck, so it has a very low center of gravity, which makes it easy to handle. It really is very fun to ride. The chassis has front and rear suspension, and both use a swing arm system that is controlled by a rubber elastomer. Think back to the old RockShox suspension system used on mountain bikes, and you get the idea. It does a pretty good job with sharp bumps and even jumping off the curb. As you can see in the GoPro footage, the wheel doesn't travel up and down much as the scooter is traveling along or hitting bumps. My prediction is this is one area where scooters will continue to improve and evolve. Overall, the Dualtron is the best handling scooter that I've ridden. Still, you want to keep your hands on the handlebars. It accelerates hard, brakes hard, and with the small wheels when compared with a bicycle or a motorcycle, means there isn't much gyroscopic effects, keeping you going in a straight line. One key area that is ripe for improvement is the steering head play. The steering stem has a small amount of play in the bearings. It's really not much, and probably similar to a bicycle. But with the long steering column, it gets amplified at the handlebars, and you end up with nearly a ½ inch of back and forth play. I've really found this true on every scooter that I've tried. Which brings me to the throttle controller. The Dualtron uses an accelerator trigger that is activated with your right index finger. Most other scooters I've ran across use something similar. Some use your thumb, like Gary's Apocalypse. Maybe it's just my motocross background, but the single finger system left me wanting a twist throttle. I just didn't feel you have the small motor control with a single finger to easily control the speed you want. And my finger got tired over time, which exacerbates the symptoms. So I did have a major mishap with this scooter. Halfway through my second ride, it started to vibrate at low speeds. It seemed to be coming from the rear motor. Then about a mile or so later, it suddenly started to slow. I pulled over and found the rear wheel had a good bit of resistance to turn. I turned back, running only on the front motor. And like I mentioned, I live in a hilly area, and it was struggling to drag me back. About a mile from home, it stopped completely. Both wheels would barely turn, and I had to call for help. The silver lining of this unfortunate event was the excellent response I got from Minimotors USA. Immediately after the event, I phoned the tech support and got voicemail. Keep in mind that this was between Christmas and New Year's, and I wasn't even really sure if they were working during the holiday. But within 10 minutes, John from Minimotors called me back from his personal cell phone. He assured me that they would make things right and that they've never had something like this happen. Lucky for me, he was planning to visit friends for New Year's, not too far from me, and personally delivered a replacement scooter to my house just a few days later. Now that's fantastic service. Something that's not found in today's age of outsourced tech support and self-serve wikis. A big shout out to Minimotors USA for their excellent customer service. Well, that's my introductory review of the Dualtron 3. In short, I'm having a great time with it. Let me know if you guys have any specific questions about the scooter in the comments section, and I'll try to get back to you. And if you guys want me to do a follow-up review or more in depth, let me know as well, and I'll post another video. I'm sure I'm going to gain some insight on this new form of fun and transportation going forward. And I hope this helps, and as always, I appreciate you watching.